Solar technology will enhance our lives because it will provide us really three things. Number one, fuel-free power. So if you think about solar and renewable energies in general, so when we talk about solar, we really can't forget about wind energy as well. So the renewables, but mainly solar for this discussion, will provide us the ability to have power without consuming fossil fuels. And the ability to have no smog and be able to do something about the greenhouse effect and things like that is big in my mind. Think about, so I was talking about those three ways. So number one, independence from fossil fuels. So we don't have to deal with that fossil fuel issue, which means we don't have to drill in preserves and in areas where we may disturb wildlife and you know the natural beauty of our nation. But then also we can have independence from foreign oil. So independence from foreign oil means that we won't have to pay money to other people for their products, which is big because a lot of our military forces occupy different lands and we have military bases and things like that, really not only as peacekeepers, but because we have to protect that petroleum supply. And if we don't protect that petroleum supply, then we may run out of petroleum or someone may take that and seize that. So not only do we become independent of fossil fuels, we don't drill, we don't disturb nature, all that kind of stuff, but also hopefully when we can become less dependent upon foreign fuel, then we can hopefully bring some of our boys and our troops home and we can spend less money being peacekeepers for the rest of the world. Independence of energy. So if you look at just a great, for instance, here at Livingston and Haven, the big difficulty we have in this nation is what's called the grid. And the grid is very old. The grid is all those power lines you see overhead. So those big, massive power lines, which are the high voltage lines that come from the power plants going down to the substations where the voltages drop down to the transformers and all that stuff that breaks. Squirrels get into it, lightning strikes it, hurricanes, whatever. And here at Livingston and Haven, we actually had power outages. Now I think we've had 3 or 4 power outages already this year, which cost us over $500,000 in actual money to our corporation. So when you look at the job market and you look at how that impacts, how power outages impact our economy every day, as we have power outages because of a unreliable and becoming even older and more unreliable grid, then it directly impacts the dollars we put in our pockets every day. So with new solar technologies that will enable us to have independence of the grid, because we'll have point of use power, because you can put solar on your roof, you can put solar right beside your house, right beside your building, right beside your factory, and you can generate your electricity there. Now you won't have those outages, and you can have reliable power without having to maintain that old thing called the grid. Well, a little altruistic, because I really, in some ways, would like to save the planet. So I really would. I believe that what we do as a job and what we do as a career, I want to have a legacy. So it's a little bit altruistic from that standpoint. I would like to impact the planet. But also I see solar energy as a way to disrupt the poverty trap in the world. Because here in the United States, we have plugs everywhere. We can just plug things in. But in third world countries or second world countries, you know, Mexico, Latin America, Caribbean, you look at Haiti, you look at Africa, there's areas where they have no power and they never have had power. And there's that poverty trap that they get caught in, because since they have trouble even studying at night. Students can't study at night because they have no electricity. A lot of times they'll run generators and kerosene lanterns to try to study at night. And so they get noxious fumes and poisoning and all this type of stuff. So I see solar energy and the new technologies that are coming for solar and wind and other renewables as a way to bring power to remote areas, to disrupt the poverty trap. Because if we can bring power, then we can bring education. And if we can bring education, then if you educate, as you educate a generation, then you educate the next one, and the next one becomes even more and more educated, and eventually the poverty trap gets disrupted, and we make the world a better place because everybody's quality of life is incremented up that much more. So solar takes up a lot of areas. So one of the things I'm really looking forward to with new technologies, new solar technologies, for instance, like solar stacking and things like that, so that we can get higher efficiencies and more power out of individual panels. Because right now, with the panel efficiencies and the power that you can get out of a single panel, it takes a lot of real estate. It takes a lot of land, because you can't block these things from the sun, right? So they all have to be able to see the sun. So it takes up a lot of land. So when we talk about natural preserves and we talk about not disturbing nature and things like that, all of a sudden now we're talking about putting solar out there and having these big ugly panels out there, which is definitely not natural either. So it's a trade-off. So that's the big disadvantage. It takes a lot of land to put solar in.